Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm excited to talk about the research I conducted while I am a graduate student here at Utah State University. Specifically, I'm going to talk to you about the effects of dust on the reproductive success of an endangered endemic shrub in Utah. So the shrub that I looked at is Hesperanthus suffrutescens, known as shrubby reed mustard. There's approximately 2,900 left in the world in 7 known populations that all occur in Utah. It's federally endangered. It was listed in 1987. And as I said, it's endemic to the Uinta Basin in eastern Utah. Current threats include mainly habitat loss due to energy development. So the Uinta Basin on the Colorado Plateau has seen increases in energy development, a boom in recent years. And with this increase in energy development comes many miles, many miles of unpaved roads and lots of traffic on these roads. And all this traffic creates a lot of dust. The problem with dust is road dust has been shown to affect plants in many ways. It can affect the physiology of plants, which may reduce growth and ultimately reproduction. It also has been shown to reduce pollination in orchards, and herbicides are very easily transported along with this dust and can also affect the physiology and health of plants. So dust can affect plant reproduction both physically and physiologically. So our overall question for this research was, does this dust reduce or affect reproductive success for shrubby reed mustard? And this is a very important question, obviously, for the conservation of this species, but also it would add to the growing literature on dust and plant effects. And there's 2 sort of sub-questions to this. The first, we wanted to find out if this dust is affecting reproduction at all. And then the second is if we found a reduction, we wanted to try and tease apart if this was a pre-pollination mechanism, so dust is physically preventing pollination, or if it's a post-pollination mechanism. Dust is affecting the physiology and therefore indirectly affecting reproduction. So I'll talk about the first question first. We selected plants in the largest population that just so happens to have a road that surrounds it, an active road that surrounds it. The Big Pack Mountain population, there's approximately 1,500 plants found here. Here's a picture of the plants looking towards Big Pack Mountain. This here is a plot. Each of these flags is a plant. And then you can see how the proximity of the road and active dust transport. Here's an overview of the study design. Again, you can see the road surrounding plants. Plants are found along this strata here. And to get at this, we set up 5 distance from the road categories, 4 plots each, 0 to 100, all the way up to 700 meters from the road. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the Uinta Basin, this is the actual Big Pack Mountain study area. It's about 60 miles south of Vernal. Each plot had 2 dust traps. This is a dust trap commonly used by USGS. And each plot also had 10 plants, although there were 2 plots that only had 8. So we had a total of 156 plants for this study. Each plant had size measured because bigger plants can produce more, reproduce more than smaller plants. We counted the number of stems as the size of plants. We counted the total number of fruits per plant. We also randomly collected 5 fruits from each plant. Counted the seeds and weighed the seeds and got estimates of total plant seeds and plant seed weight. I also hand pollinated 3 flowers on 5 plants in each plot to see if dust may affect pollination success. And these data were analyzed using generalized linear mixed models, which is just complex form of linear regression. So the results, first off, is the pattern of dust deposition. As you can see, and it makes sense, most dust is deposited nearest the road, and it tends to decrease as you increase distance away from the road. We found a significant correlation with the stems and the number of fruits produced. It's a very good predictor of reproductive success. But we also found that increasing dust deposition was significantly correlated with fruit set. And I like this graph because it shows both of those relationships. So on the Y, you have number of fruits. On the X-axis, you have dust. And then each of these lines corresponds to a different plant size. So as you see, as you increase plant size, you get a correlated increase in the number of fruits. That makes sense. Bigger plants should produce more fruits than smaller plants. But interestingly, as you increase dust, plants of the same size produce less fruits than they would if there was less dust. So take plant 4 here, that's a plant with 4 stems. When there's very little dust, it's about 5 fruits per plant. But the highest dust we measured, those plants would be producing about 4, 4.5. So a significant reduction in the number of fruits. The other 2 reproductive measures I mentioned, total plant seeds and plant seed weight, they showed the same similar negative pattern. They weren't significant, however. Here's total plant seeds. You could argue that plant seed weight is marginally significant. However, the effects of dust on hand pollinating, there was absolutely no effect whatsoever. That suggests that dust is not interfering with pollination in these plots, at least my pollination. So does road dust affect reproduction? Our data suggests that road dust is in fact reducing the reproductive output of these plants. Increasing dust was significantly correlated with decreased fruit set. And the negative pattern, as I mentioned, was seen in those other 2 reproductive measures, although not significantly. So now the second question, try to tease apart how this might be occurring. Is this reduction, again, due to a physical effect of the dust preventing pollination or a physiological effect of the dust altering stomatal conductance, which is a metric used to estimate photosynthesis? So how we did this is we dusted plants. For pollination success, I selected 10 plants and I dusted 3 flowers on each plant, and then I subsequently hand outcrossed them and counted the resulting fruit set. For stomatal conductance, I used 30 plants, 3 leaves each, and I measured stomatal conductance, and then I dusted the leaves, and then I measured it again. So we had 90 leaves. So can dust prevent pollination? Well, 80% of those flowers set fruit. So that just suggests to me that it's not preventing pollination. However, that could just be that I'm really good at pollinating or I'm wiping off dust. It would be interesting to see how that dust affects native bees and their pollination success, which we did not do in this study. Can dust reduce stomatal conductance? Indeed, dust did reduce stomatal conductance by about 50 millimoles per meter squared. Pre-dusting, stomatal conductance is about 120 millimoles per meter squared. Post-dust, it's down to about 75. So this suggests to us that, yes, dust is affecting the stomatal conductance, whether it's clogging stomates or it's shading leaves. And this could, in turn, reduce growth and reproduction. So is it due to pre- or post-pollination mechanisms? Well, the data suggests, none of the hand-pollinated flowers were affected by dust, but it did significantly reduce stomatal conductance. So our take-home message here is that dust may be reducing reproductive success of these plants by altering physiological processes post-pollination. Management implications. Dust mitigation should be implemented on all roads near plants, whether that be wetting them. I don't know if magnesium chloride would be a good idea or not. New roads, wells, and pads should be placed as far away from plants as possible. And then ongoing and future monitoring of this dust deposition and its effects on plants and reproduction and their pollinators is very important. So with that, I'd like to thank my committee, Jesse Brunson with Fish and Wildlife, Shrub Lab, and people with statistical help and dust processing sampling. And I think we have time for questions, yes? Okay.
Were you able to determine how far out the effects were, or when they diminished, no effect from dust?
No, and originally we had the study set up to where we were going to look at proximity to the road, but I don't know if you noticed my dust deposition, it started to creep back up, and I think that's because the road kind of bent back around towards those farther away from the plots, and so we had to control for distance, so we lost that. But